Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chorizo Bros. This is Joseph back at it again with another book review for you. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite books collections, horror anthologies of all time. This is Clive Barker's Books of Blood, volumes 1 through 3. Now the reason I'm bringing this for you today is because we fortunately get to be very busy during this time of year. Now the summer is notoriously busy for the Chorizo Bros. It gets a little bit tougher for us to get our schedules to match so we can bring you some of our longer form content. Our big discussions on like the Lonesome Dove stuff, or we're supposed to be bringing you the movie Heat. That's supposed to be a big episode. We're having to postpone that a little bit because our schedules are just getting harder and harder to match because we're so busy. And guess what? We are grateful to be busy. This is the time of year where we need the action. We need the business. We're going to have to put some of the videos that we've been doing a little bit on hold, which is fine. It just means that on my time that I get to bring you guys stuff that I love, or something that I'm just kind of doing by myself. So this is going to be an example of that. Now, for me, my experience with Clive Barker is much along the same vein as my experience with Chuck Palahniuk. Now, I was going through a bit of a slump in my younger years where I was reading so much, and then I just didn't feel like reading for a while, and I needed something to kind of boost me out of that slump, and Chuck Palahniuk was a big part of that for me. And then eventually it became Clive Barker. And Clive Barker, I think I consumed all of his novels at that point, and I couldn't stop. I was just, anytime I could find one of his books, I just wanted to read it. I think this is the first one that I did. Now, on the channel, I've talked about The Great and Secret Show, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I talked about Mr. B Gone, which wasn't as high up there for me as some of his other books. But this is definitely 5 out of 5, grade A, some of the most fun I've had in horror anthologies, horror stories at all. I want to talk about this today, not necessarily as a quote-unquote book review, because as with a lot of these anthology and short story collections, it is almost impossible to judge it as a whole. It is very difficult to do that because not everything can be a 5 out of 5. Not everything is going to hit you the same way. You're not going to go through a collection of short stories and find that they all mean something to you at the end. Every single one I've done on the show has sort of had that, I don't want to call it a problem, because it's just the nature of a collection of short stories. What are you going to do? They're not all going to be 5 out of 5s. This one is probably the highest concentration of 5 out of 5s, this specific publication, this specific printing of this, because it's a collection of Books of Blood 1 through 3. It starts off with a very cool, very awesome, very creative framing device here. Basically, it starts off with this parapsychology group, this group that's trying to prove a haunting through being charlatans. They have a kid, he's like 20, in the attic, and he's throwing himself around and making noises and screaming and yelling, and they're using this as evidence that there's a haunting in this house. Now, through the course of one of these instances, they accidentally open up a portal to the afterlife, and real ghosts, real spirits invite themselves in. They attack the young man, cut him up, and they in the attack, what they're actually doing, they're not trying to kill him. They want to tell their story. So there's a weird like Canterbury Tales kind of idea to this. I don't really know, but they all write their stories on his arms and the skin on his back, on his stomach, on his chest, on the back of his neck, on his face. So yeah, these ghosts fuck this dude up, and they're all different ones, and they're all in different handwriting, and it's just his blood. Once it dries off, it's like his blood, and you can read what they're writing on him. And that's the framing device for this. Very cool concept there. Each one of the displays of handwriting on him is a story in this collection. It's so cool. Just by that, I was like, okay, I'm sucked in. So kind of what it's doing is it's saying like, yes, it's a short story, but it doesn't follow a cohesive narrative except that there's that framing device. These are all completely different types of stories. There's always a tinge of horror and darkness, even when the stories are funny. So one of my favorite stories in here has a demonic supernatural element, but it is one of the funniest short stories that I think I've ever read. It is incredibly funny. It's basically this, it's called The Yattering and Jack. It's about a little demon that's been assigned with haunting or tormenting this guy. He can't touch him. He can't like physically harm him. He has to just do things to mentally break down this guy. Nothing gets to this guy, like water off a duck's back. Nothing gets to him. Something will clearly be the demon fucking with him, and he'll just like, oh, que sera, you know? It's just incredibly funny because he's aware that he's been cursed and is aware there's a demon there, but he's like, okay, I'm just not gonna let the demon win. And that's the story. The story is just the frustration of the little demon trying to break this guy, and it's just not working. And it's so fucking funny. He eventually has his daughters visit, and they can tell something's off, and they're getting frustrated with him because he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's kind of weird that happened. Fucking 5 out of 5. One of the fucking funniest stories I've ever read. It's so great. That's what I'm saying, is all these stories are kind of different. You'll have this really freaky story, Midnight Meat Train, in here. It's like I think it's like the first story printed in here, about a sleazy New York setting. Really reminded me of John Shirley's Sellers, which y'all know I fucking love that book. So this is right up my alley. These are like they're like cousins almost. This sleazy underground secret society, culty. There's this like unknown entity underneath the city. Oh man, that just really creepy, really gets under your skin. There's Pig Blood Blues, I think is what the short story is called. An incredible story of our main character in that is basically this guy who gets hired at this like young kids. They're not quite old enough to go to prison, but they're like delinquents. And this is sort of where they're being sent off to correct their behavior. It's like a camp or something. But basically, he gets hired on to be one of the, I don't know, counselors or whatever there. And he realizes there's something fucking going on here at this place. Understanding the hierarchy of how the kids behave and like who is who, and trying to maintain this sort of like, well, I have to let them open up to me and talk to me. But I'm also an authority figure here, and he's trying to figure out like why are they all acting odd? What is going on with this farm that's behind the place? The complex has this like farm where this pig is, and you know how fucking good a writer you have to be to make me freaked out about a pig. Straight up, this isn't an exaggeration. The way that this is written. And when you sort of get the reveal of what's going on here, I was like, holy shit, this place is fucked up. It's obviously all like supernatural and like unrealistic in that way, but he writes it in a way where the feelings are real. And I think I really like that with Brian Evanson. He'd mentioned that you're not necessarily trying to explain something that's scary. You're trying to explain what the feeling of being scared is. And if you can do that, then you've hit it. You hit the nail on the head. If you can do that, you wrote a successful horror story. Every story in this is him really getting how it feels to be frightened by this, how it feels to be confused and not understand, and to witness something violent, witness something mysterious. There's a story in here, I think it's called Human Remains, where it's this young man who, you can tell there's something going on with him, depression or something, drug addiction, drinking. I don't know. There's definitely something going on with this guy. And he finds a statue that looks like him. And slowly over the course of the story, this statue starts to look more and more like him. That's all I'll say about it. But all these stories have like a weird... it's just a little off. Something is just a little off, or it starts off that way and then it just gets stranger and stranger, and you go deeper down the rabbit hole. And not all of it needs to necessarily be explained, You're just gonna go on the ride and see the horrors that await you. The descriptions in here are terrifying, beautifully written, fast paced. None of this is very difficult. In terms of like something like one of the books I'm trying to knock out right now is Gene Wolfe's Shadow of the Torturer. I want to really dig into that series, and the point of that is that it's difficult. You're probably going to have to look some things up because he's using Baroque language, and you know it's kind of an exercise. It's a mental exercise for you. That's not what Clive Barker feels like. Now he's a deeply emotionally intelligent person and really knows how to make these people feel like living, breathing people. He makes every character make a decision that makes sense for them, which is like top notch for me. I love that. I love when a writer can continue a story, and you can even have a character betray another, and it be a shock, but then once you examine it, you go, okay, it makes sense why they did that. I hate it when stories don't land on that. They make a character do something that doesn't feel like something that character would do. Everything in here feels real. Even the crazy, wild stuff. It all feels real. This all feels like something that can exist out there. We know how dark and scary the real world is. This is like, makes you feel like these realms, these hauntings, these possessions, these things that you don't understand could really be out there. He fucking nails it. It's not difficult in terms of I didn't have to like look a ton of stuff up. You don't get bored ever, like throughout any of these. Now again, some of these stories might not land, some of them might be a little bit slower. There's a couple of stories where I had a little bit of a hard time following the action because just the concept was a little bit weird. I had to go back and like go, okay, I get it, you know. But that's few and far between. Most of these stories are just going to feel natural. They're going to feel like a cohesive thought that somebody might have, even when they're tripped up and confused. They don't feel like trying to be too poetic. This stuff is just gorgeous. The mental images you're going to get, it's almost like a painting. It's almost like Goya or something. You're gonna have these moments where you're like, man, like this is fucking terrifying. You know, I used to be a bit snobby when it came to writers like Stephen King. We've talked about Stephen King multiple times in the show, and my feelings on him as an author have completely changed. I always thought like I had to just give him more of a shot to understand that he's kind of like the working man's writer, but he knows how to hit you with some good lines. The stories have a little bit more depth if you just give him an opportunity to think about it a little bit longer. So I thought, you know, comparing Clive Barker to him was a little bit unfair because I was like, dude, as much as I'm coming around the other end and being like, Stephen King is great, this dude writes in a way that will freak you the fuck out, in a way that Stephen King just can't. And again, I've said nothing but positive things lately about Stephen King. But this dude, I don't know, man. Show me somebody that writes some shit scarier than him, and I want to see it. Because I've read a lot of horror stuff, and a lot of it pales in comparison. As far as what I'm looking for in my reading, in my horror, they lack, man. These are the perfect length. They don't outstay their welcome. Some of his other books, they run on a little bit long, and they're very enjoyable. I love them. But with short stories, what you're trying to do is you're trying to concentrate the action, concentrate the feeling, concentrate all that stuff. And through that, just makes stuff that sticks with you. I think about that fucking pig all the time. I think about that little demon haunting them all the time. I think about that subway, that train under New York in Midnight Meat Train all the time. When I'm thinking about cool, like, man, like I remember why do these images stick with me as long as they have over years? I'm talking over 10 years. I've read these books a long time ago. I think about them constantly still. That is an incredible feat for somebody, an author, to really grip me, because I can kind of get bored a little bit and I just want to move on to the next thing. It takes something very unique. It takes something to really like viscerally grip me. This is somebody who grabs you by the gut and doesn't let go. And that's all I'm going to say on it, man. I understand why a lot of his stuff is getting like adaptations. They're making shows, they're making movies, and those really don't hit as much because they can't do what the writing does. And what the writing does is it gives you an opportunity to like climb in the skin of these characters and really feel them out. They feel super fleshed out. I can't say it enough. I feel like I'm just kind of like going over the same thing again. I apologize about that. I'm just excited. It's hard to, because again, if I don't do that, what's going to end up happening is I'm just going to go through every story in here and just kind of tell you what's going on there. And I don't want to ruin these books for you. Check them out. There is another half. There's like the 4 through 6, and there's definitely some gold in there. Those ones, there's not as many as far as this is a lot of 5 out of 5s for me. That one's there's some lackluster ones in there. So this is definitely the place to start. If you're going to read anything by Clive Barker, if you just got this, you're going to like it. Now, some of his other stuff gets a little bit stranger. There's some esoteric, weirder stuff. Very weird stuff. Great and Secret Show. I can't shout out enough. But if you're going to start off reading anything by Clive Barker, I'm going to say he's so skilled at writing short stories and novellas that's like his meat and potatoes. That's like where you're at on this. That's where I recommend you go. As much as I might enjoy his longer form novels, and as much as I'm going to continue reading all of that, and I'm going to do some more stuff on his books on the channel for sure. But this is where I recommend you start, because it will blow you away. Now, the small caveat to that is this almost isn't worth even getting into if you cannot handle darkness, supernatural stuff, violence, hellish imagery. If that's tough for you, the fuck are you reading horror anyways? But this stuff is crazy good. I think I've said enough. I think I'm just kind of yammering at this point. We're going to have some fun with some new stuff. I'm going to bring you guys some good videos coming up. I think I'm going to be doing a video on Atonement at some point. This is going to be really fun. I cannot wait to talk about this. We're going to do Heat, of course. I've talked about that. As soon as I get the guys together, we're going to knock that one out. We're going to bring Comanche Moon at some point. Again, busy season for us, so we'll get there when we get there. But I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. I don't know that I can do a video on Shadow of the Torturer, because I'll be here for ever talking about that if we get to that. But yeah, leave me some comments, guys. Tell me what you think I should read, what you want to hear me talk about, or what I should watch, anything I missed. Is there another Clive Barker project that you think I should look at, and maybe I haven't read it before? I want to check it out. So I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and we hope to bring you some more fun content very soon. Thanks a lot, guys.